Hello everybody and welcome to a video, and this one should be fun. I'm sure that a lot of people are going to hate what I'm about to say, but that's alright. So in this video I want to talk about Age of Sigmar versus the Ninth Age, and yes, I'll openly admit right at the top that I gave it this fun title of There Is No Competition, which depending on how you read that could mean several different things, right? You might think like, I mean that one is clearly better than the other, i.e. there is no competition. But in fact, I mean it in exactly the way the sentence is structured. There is no competition, i.e., it's not a competition. There is as much competition as between, say, your average basketball team and your average grocery store chain. They're not in competition with each other. Perhaps a little more than that. But that's what I'm going to try to convince you of in this video, is that basically both of these games don't actually compete with each other. In fact, I would say that they're synergistic with each other. They actually help each other. But we'll see if you agree with me. I wanted to make this video because very recently there was, something very negative that happened on Bad Dice Podcast. They put together a basing thing, and somebody went and messed it up and put a bunch of Ninth Age stuff on it. And that's not the Ninth Age community. Okay, I want to be very clear. I play both of these games. I know people in both of these communities. And the people that I know in these communities, they are some of the best, nicest, coolest, most thoughtful people that I am proud to call my friends. So one of the reasons I really wanted to make this video was because I feel it's easy for one side to label the other side as bad actors. And the reality is, I know for a fact it's simply not true. The people who are participating in both of these games are fun people who are passionate about their hobby and just happen to enjoy a slightly different game. So, there we go. That's what inspired me to make this video. So no matter which one of these things you like, or maybe you like both, like me, I hope you find this interesting. So let's get into it. So a lot of people tend to talk like there can be only one. We got good old MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod from the Highlander. Still a great movie, by the way. Totally holds up. I even like the television show. But, people tend to sort of talk like as though these things are mutually exclusive, as though the existence of one game or success of one game precludes the other, which is nonsensical. We often restrict our discussion to these two, which is just as faulty logic as only talking about, previous versions of Warhammer as though it was the only game. There are many, many other war games on the market, all of whom define success for the size of their company very differently. Not only war games, but miniature lines and all those sorts of things. There's so many more, and more of them are more successful than ever before. How is that possible? Because the market overall is growing. Things like X-Wing and stuff like that bring people into the idea of collecting miniatures. Easier starter projects, access to Kickstarters to fund small businesses, easier communication. The Ninth Age itself being able to happen because of the internet, basically, right? Like all of these people being able to work together to popularize it, to gain community support, to foster that. All of that is relatively recent stuff. And so what that's meant is that more people are able to sort of find out about the awesome world of miniature games that probably, if you're watching this video, you know about and have known about for a while, and I've been a part of for 20 years. And they can learn about it and see if it's for them. The gaming market has become less stigmatized in general. If we go back 30 years to when I started gaming, there was a lot of stigma. When I first started playing role-playing games in the late 80s, I had to convince my parents that I wasn't becoming a devil worshiper. That's a thing that happened, right? The entire culture has become far less stigmatized, and that means people are more willing to try it out. So as more people join, this concept that there can be only one is nonsensical. We can have lots of different games all be successful simultaneously. No game is ever going to have all of the market. Or would you want that to be the case? That would be terrible. Because Having a lot of games means we can have a lot of different styles of game. You want the game to be big enough so that you can go to tournaments or whatever your measure happens to be for success. And we'll talk about that on the next slide. But the idea that there can be only one and that we talk about these things in mutually exclusive terms is just nonsense. Pure and simple. Okay. So I want to start with something less controversial. So as we walk down this road of they really don't compete, and I believe that, let's get into the meat of that. I do not think that these two games, Age of Sigmar and Ninth Age, actually compete with each other. But to start out with that, you might think, well, of course they do. And you might have that very strongly in your brain. But let's start with something, let's leave that to the side for the moment. And let's start with something perhaps a bit less emotional. All right? This is a Mini Cooper. It is a convertible, this is the convertible version. It is a tiny little car that is very reasonably economically priced and is fun and sporty, and in this wonderful turquoise color. This is a Ford F-150 truck. Okay? So here is my question. Are these two vehicles competing with each other? Okay. In the extremely broad sense that they're both cars, and they're both used for transportation, the answer is yes. But the answer is truly not really, okay? A person who's in the market for a car, for a new vehicle, I should say, doesn't go to the lot and be like, am I going to get this Mini Cooper, this tiny gas-efficient convertible with no cargo space, okay? Or am I going to buy this giant Ford F-150 truck, right? That's completely different in all of its functionality. No. You're going to go and you're looking at the Mini Cooper or several other size things. I point this out to say, and look, I'm sure there's one person in the history of the world who has made this decision. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that it's not competition, right? Because F-150s are competing against other trucks in their category, against their buyer persona are people who want utility, who want to be able to haul things, who want four-wheel drive, who want to be able to, farmers and ranchers and stuff like that. For a lot of years, the Ford F-150 was the number one car driven by millionaires in the United States. Why? Because lots of farmers and ranchers and construction business owners and stuff like that are millionaires and need utility in their vehicle. So hence, a Lexus doesn't really work, right? There's a reason for that. There's a reason why those people had that thing, because there's a utility to it. And it did what they needed, what they were in the market for. The Mini Cooper is the same way. You have somebody, their buyer persona is probably somebody younger who wants something sportier but doesn't have a huge amount of money to go spend $60,000 on some convertible sports car. So they want something gas efficient and sporty that looks cool. There you go. Okay? These two people wouldn't ever buy these other cars. Like your average buyer wouldn't make the choice. Now, that is to say, assuming that they have to choose one. But even the choice itself is false. That's what I really want to hammer home, because in the end, that's only the entire concept here that, one, they don't compete. Two, making a single choice, there's no real choice there. Like at the moment of buying one car. But a family could have both of these, right? Because you might need more than one car. In the same way, one game isn't going to take up 24 hours of your day. You might want one for a certain purpose and one for another, right? Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so let's start with what is the goal of the company? And by that, I mean, what's the goal of, in the case of Age of Sigmar, it's Games Workshop, what's the goal of the game? How is success measured? When you talk about Games Workshop and Age of Sigmar versus the Ninth Age. So I think the goal of Age of Sigmar is they want to sell models. Certainly, they're a company. They want to do that. They want to engage their community in the game. I think they've proven that recently through lots of social outreach stuff. I think the old CEO had turned against that. The new person's in, and the pivot has been very loud. tons more interaction on Facebook with the community, with tournaments, with everything. I think they want to build the IP and its licensing value. I think they have an eye toward the long game here. They know that in the end, models and paints and all that stuff is good, but building the IP is even better because then you can license that all out. And they've certainly shown that they have a large appetite for licensing. And they're a for-profit company. Moreover, they're a public for-profit company. They have shareholders. And I don't want to get into the details of that, but that's very real. And when you don't deliver shareholder value, bad things happen when you're in charge. Like, they have an absolute responsibility from a financial sense to deliver shareholder value. Okay. So that's their goal, right? That's how success is measured. If they sell a lot of models, if they have people positive and happy and engaged in their game, and hence build their IP so they can sell it, and in the end, they make a profit. That's the basic idea of the thing. Nothing too complicated. What's the goal of the Ninth Age? Okay, well, I literally took this quote directly from their website. That is copy-paste, right? We aim to provide a competitive, balanced, and fun game with updates and new rules to be released regularly. Okay. Clearly, one of their goals is tournament play, right? They want a balanced game for tournament play. And they're a nonprofit, very strongly stated nonprofit company. Like, I believe they're organized in, some kind of, it's all under European, and I don't know the European regulations as much, but I believe they're organized as some kind of corporate nonprofit under the European rules. So, that's a very different purpose, right? And the way that they go about it is also completely different. Now, I didn't list it because I ran out of space, but by the way, they also want to engage their community in their game. I don't mean for a second to leave that off. I just didn't have enough space. But they're not looking to license out IP. They're not, the Ninth Age isn't looking to turn a profit. So success is measured very differently. So what success is to me for the Ninth Age seems to be a lot of people playing their game, or enough to hold at least competitive tournaments and stuff like that, to have an active and vibrant community. Well, that's a very different measure of success, right? Because they don't need to sell things regularly. It's been listed, and we talked about it on Warhammer Weekly, as one of their strengths, is that they're not bound to a sales cycle. So as long as they keep sort of updates and things released and keep people interested in the game and have enough players to have a fun community and a tournament scene, that's success. That's how it's measured. Doesn't matter who's buying what from other companies. So multiples of these things, both of these people could literally succeed completely at the same time. Because ultimately, Games Workshop could be selling a ton of models to Ninth Agers, right, who are engaging in the Ninth Age, who also, some of which play Age of Sigmar on the side, or don't, and then also selling models to Age of Sigmar people, and have an engaged community, and that would be fine. Like, both would win, because these aren't, like, classical two companies competing against each other, where, and even then, by the way, the idea of, like, zero-sum is nonsensical. Most markets need at least two players to be successful. But the idea of the hegemonic market is nonsense. That being said, these really aren't competitors because they can thrive at the same time, and even both of them thriving helps each other. That's what I want to move to next. So the idea of playing multiple games, this is something that really mystifies me. In most other gaming pursuits, people regularly play multiple games. Like, I'm sure most of you have probably played a video game. Do you literally only play one video game? No, of course not, because it's their fire and forget. But at the same time, you don't think it's anything weird to switch brands of video games. Let's put it that way. I'm sure there are very few people out there who are like, well, I only play Call of Duty games. I mean, they probably play other things. A new Mass Effect came out. Let me check that out. That Uncharted 4 looks pretty sweet, right? Like, ultimately, who made it is of passing interest. CCGs, RPGs, I've been playing RPGs since 1989, and I think for the first 2 years I played one game. And then after that, and since then, I've always had multiple games and multiple interests, right? Now, there are market leaders but the percentage of people who play one and only one game is very low. People just try things. The most common barriers to picking up new games is cost and rules. There's a monetary outlay, and there's the time outlay. And honestly, the rules are often more... The rules are the bigger barrier, 100%. People don't want to buy the rules. People don't want to learn the rules. Cost can generally be swallowed. You'll be surprised how quickly people will find money to pay for things if they're really interested. But both games have free rules, and the same models can be used for both games. I have a bunch of armies. If I put them on square bases, I can use them for both games. Does that mean I can play in every Age of Sigmar tournament? Well, I don't know. Maybe a couple require round bases. Fine, I won't play in those tournaments. I don't care. Right? So I can buy one product, use it for both games, and by doing that and engaging in both, I'm helping both succeed. So they actually help each other here. And again, in most gaming pursuits, the concept that people play multiple games isn't that weird. Now, I will say that the standout here for war games is that they require more time and investment. That's normally been the challenge. I.e., because a Warhammer army takes a long time to put together. It takes a while to assemble, to prime, to paint, to get ready, to get it all good to go. But again, that barrier is gone because I can use the same models for both games, right? So even that traditional barrier to trying other miniature games, like I don't want to go play Infinity because I don't want to have to go and buy a bunch of new Infinity models. Okay, I get that. So, but that barrier is eliminated here. More players is better for all. So these two games are very different in their level of complexity, the way that they play, and the type of psychographic profile they appeal to. That doesn't mean one person can't like both. That just means that if we broaden it out to the concept of sort of psychographic profile and buyer persona, it's very different than the market. That doesn't mean it's not a Venn diagram and there's not overlap. I'm sitting in the middle. Hi. But not everybody's going to. But the key is that's a static measure. Tastes change over time, and people like to experience and try new things. When I was a certain age or whatever, I liked a very particular type of role-playing game and liked a very particular experience out of my role-playing game. I liked big, heavy, crunchy games like Rifts and stuff like that. Lately, as life got busier and as my time allotment to I could dedicate to RPGs changed, I got attracted to more indie RPGs and things that are more narrative-based and stuff like that I can just kind of pick up and play and get into and move on. Not everybody will take the same track. Some people will go the opposite. It doesn't really matter. I'm not trying to say that there's a right path. I'm just trying to say, over time, people want to try different experiences and their tastes will change. Not even evolve, because that implies getting better. Just change. Right? So, and AOS is a great incubator for new 9th Age players. Or it could be a fun, less time-consuming change of pace for experienced 9th Agers. And by the way, that's not saying 9th Age isn't fun too. They're both fun. I play both. They're both fun, good games. I'm going to keep repeating that because I just want to really, really drive it home. They are both fun, good games, in my opinion. If you don't like one, don't like one. It's okay. That's not the point of this. All right. So, but the reality is I can whip out a game of Age of Sigmar probably in a faster time than I can for a game of 9th Age. Just in my experience, one plays faster. I can play at a small number of model count. I can play at a near skirmish level. We can get it done an hour, and I'm good to go. Right? So, the reality is it can be a track where people can come in, have the simpler experience of AOS, and then as their tastes change or they want to experience new things, they can go up into 9th Age. That's awesome. Right? More games appealing to more people means more war gamers. More market, more growth, more miniature lines, more hobby supplies, everything. And I really want to drive this home. Okay? This is so important. You want models for 9th Age? It's not just a matter of partnering with companies. That's good. That's a great thing. But you need more people making miniatures. You know when more people make miniatures? When there's more people to sell those miniatures to. The more people playing, the more people want different aesthetics and things to play. The more market that's out there. We have seen an explosion recently of hobby-related stuff. miniature lines, hobby supplies, paints, the whole deal. The reason is because, one, it's getting easier to fund and market those things at a small level, right? You can kickstart them, you can do that, you can communicate to people effectively with the internet. But two, because the market itself is growing, there's more people to sell to. I am inundated with new paint ranges and things I want to try, and I love it. Okay? That's awesome. That's happening because of the combination of easier access for the person to create it and a bigger market than to sell to. Those more games, those more experiences draw people in. The more we do that. So, it's synergistic to have both of these games out there and both simultaneously existing because it grows the overall market and the overall support for that market. Don't hate, participate. This is my final slide. So, the best thing you can do if you really love your game is to be a good representative of that game. Share what you love, your passion, and do so positively. Because the reality is when you bag on something else that someone else loves, not only is it not the best incentive to bring them to your world, but moreover, it makes your community look like something they don't want to try. So, and that's true for whatever game you're doing. Be a positive representative. If you really love a thing, just talk about how you love the thing. Make battle reports. Make videos about it. Talk about it. Share it. Post it up. Because that's how I came to find out about so many things. Through people sharing their passion. When I look at videos on YouTube, I like to see people share what they really love. You know, and going beyond games. When people talk about movies they love, or old books, or anything. People sharing their passion and the reason why it's amazing makes me want to go try it. Right? And so that's the best way you can always recruit people. And it's the best way we can all grow the sort of community. My little picture down at the bottom here is from like an Android commercial. And I absolutely love it. First of all, it's set to, you know, a very great song that was also in the Breakfast Club from the 80s as it's knocking off there. But it's paper, rock, and scissors, right? These three classic enemies. And they all become friends and protect each other from bullies. And it's a wonderful little happy message. And I love it. Be together, not the same. That's how I want to see this community. Together, not the same, right? We all have a love of war games and models and have a huge overlap in the tools that we use to do them and a shared passion of experiencing these games. But we're all not the same. We have different things we like out of them and different things we want to get out of them. And that doesn't mean we all have to like all the games. You don't. You can dislike all the games you want. I don't like many games on the market. But that doesn't mean I have to attack the people who do them. The people who make these games are people who are putting their love and passion into them, who are trying to feed or support their families, or who are doing it in the case of Ninth Age solely out of the goodwill of their heart. They don't get a check. They do this because they've got an undying passion for this, right? But people who show up, whether it's at a company or independent, it doesn't matter. We're all doing this because in the end, we love what we're doing and we love these games. And we, the players, are all playing them because we love these games and we want to hang out with our friends and have a good time. So, let's be together, not the same, right? Whether you're a rock or some scissors or a paper, it doesn't matter. We all have the same, sort of passion in this war game thing. So I hope that I've shown you that we could all succeed together and that there really is no competition between these things. And I hope that, I hope I've inspired you to share more about what you love out there in the world, because I always love people sharing everything. When I logged into my YouTube the other day, I saw and looked at my subscriptions. I had an AOS battle report, a Ninth Age battle report, and a Kings of War battle report, and I was super excited because I got to tee all three of them up in a row. And it was fantastic. I loved it. I love watching people share what they're passionate about, talk about their games. It's great. So, there you go. I hope you enjoyed. I'm sure there will be some people who don't like my message of positivity. That's okay. If you enjoyed this, then this is for you. So, let's all be together, not the same. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.